You ever find practice frustrating? What's going on? It's Jason Heath, and we're taking a look inside a practice session, or what a practice session looks like for me today. And my practicing, which had been much more frustrating over the years, changed in 2018 when I discovered the sponsor of today's video. So Modacity is an app that has really transformed the way I think about practicing. They just released a new iPad version. I'm going to take you inside the way I use this app to keep me focused on good habits and really keep me making progress in my practicing. Here's the iPad edition of Modacity, and I have a playlist that I just label current, and things come into and out of it. I do build other playlists. I have time playlists, and if I have a specific event coming up, I'll build a playlist for that, like if I'm doing school demos and I want to practice for that. But this is the list that I live most of my time in. I'm not going to practice my entire session here. If you really want to hang out with me and practice bass, I did 16 videos on this series called Incredibly Useful Exercises. I will link up to that up there, I believe. But the first thing I do in Modacity, and I find this to be super helpful, is my first practice item every day is tune, rosin, get set. And what I like about this is that it has the timer going already. And there's some quotes in here. You can see failure is success if we learn from it. You can also write notes to yourself. So I could put in a note right here, remember to breathe, which might seem like a silly little note, but the cool thing is, then when I am actually in this app right here, there it is, remember to breathe. I just have that message right there. So tune, rosin, get set. Seems simple, but that's how I start every day. So I just check my bass, and I put on a little rosin. I'm using the Leatherwood Bespoke 50%. I can't remember which one I'm using these days. It's great rosin. I've done a review on that too. I'll link up there as well. And so give it a little rosin, not too much. It's getting a little warm here in San Francisco, so a little goes a long way. And get set. And that could just mean centering, that could mean breathing, that could mean just thinking about standing upright, whatever that means to me. So then you hit done, and I find it really helpful to rate everything. How did it go? That little routine, and I find it also helpful to be honest in this stuff. That was okay. Talking to the camera, I'm not probably at my absolute best, so I'll give it 3 out of 5 stars. And that becomes very useful because every item in Modacity is then tracked. Okay, so let's get into more of the features of this app here. So again, that timer I find super helpful because it just shows you how long you've been doing any given thing. The record function is also just something that I use all the time. I love that those are the two interface items right there up front and center. So how long have you been spending, and record yourself. So this Pingle right hand add fingers. This is an exercise I picked up from Scott Pingle, I think right before the pandemic. I've been doing it as a warm exercise. And all I do is I start by playing with just my thumb and second finger on the bow, and then second and third finger on the bow, and then all 4 fingers on the bow. And I'm gonna just show you how I use the app to practice this. I start the record button, hit it right there, and now I start playing. I'm just gonna play on the D string today. So I'm just using thumb and 2, trying to encourage that to feel like the center of my bow hand. Then I put 2 and 3 on with the thumb, also keeping 1 and keeping 1 and pinky not on the bow. And I just play to feel that this is where the bow hand is rooted. And then I put 1 and 4 down. By the way, I could do a video all about this, or maybe I should have Scott do a video about it. Let me know in the comments if you want to check that out. And now the cool thing with this is I can hit stop, and it immediately plays back. And I don't necessarily listen back to everything or necessarily listen back at all, but just having that recording going, I find really helpful because it separates the act of practicing from the act of analysis, if that makes sense, or the act of performing from the act of analysis. A big reason why people get caught up in their playing or develop stage fright or that sort of thing is that they're analyzing as they're playing. This is a topic, again, Mark Gelfo and I have talked about this a lot, but I think it's a really important thing to get in the habit of doing. So just getting in the habit of recording yourself, this app has been epic for that. Okay, so we move on, and again, always rate yourself. How did it go? Again, I'm talking to the camera, so this is not going as well as normal. I'm going to give myself 2.5 stars. Everything in the app you can sort by star rating, and there are some new features coming out where your star rating, if you don't practice for a while, it'll actually like degrade over time. So it's just there's all sorts of different ways that just being really honest about tracking things in here really helps. Then up next, I do something called board walking, and now I'm going to show you one of the great features about doing this on the iPad, which is that I can rotate the screen and I can open up Fourscore, which is the app I use for practicing, and I also have, there's a item for a future review, but I'm going to go into Fourscore with Boardwalk, and I have the 12, is it 12.9, 11, whatever, the big iPad Pro, so it's kind of like two regular iPads next to each other. You could also use Modacity on your phone, and I often do, but I think this is kind of cool to have it on the screen together like this. So I'm going to go into Boardwalking, and I'm doing E flat major right now. And I like to write, I've done Fourscore videos in the past. I guess I'll link to one as well if you want to check that out. But I like to keep a lot of information on the music itself in Fourscore. So we got Boardwalking right here, and I'm just going to open up and turn on the drone. So now I have a B flat drone, practicing E flat. I like to drone on the 5th. And I'm actually going to open up my extension so I have a low E flat string. So I'm going to play just one bow per note. I'm not going to play the whole thing just so that it's reviewed or walkthrough doesn't become overly long. But here we go. So I'm just going to play. Oh, wow, Jason. Is it going to be one of those practice days? Let's try that again. There we go. That's why you practice with the drone. Or that's why I practice with the drone. To keep myself honest. And I love that that's built into Modacity like this. And I usually don't practice exercises like this with a metronome, but I'm going to just, so you can see how the metronome works, I'm going to tap a tempo that I want to go. There we go. And I'm going to actually have the pitch drone just like that on the beat. One of the many cool things about Modacity. So try that, and here we go. So it's like a combo metronome, drone. Go down to that low note. Now I can also record myself while I do this. So I'm recording all this business. So, pitch. Stop and listen back to that. By the way, if you listen to a practice session of mine, you'd hear me saying, pitch, Jason, and shaking my head. So this is real to life, sadly. I do this. So I'm recording all this business. So, pitch. So I can be disappointed with my intonation again. And I notice, of course, I've been noticing this for 20 years, how I always tend to play a little bit ahead of the metronome. That's something my wife would come out and she'd say, it's interesting how you always practice the 16th note ahead of the beat. And I think, not intentionally. One of the many frustrations of practice, but something that recording yourself over and over consistently is just super helpful on. So again, I would practice that more if I wasn't doing this walkthrough here, but I go through. How did that go? Not awesome. 2 stars right there. I used to give myself always 4 or 5 stars, and then I talked to Mark Gelfo, the founder of this app, and he pulled out his Modacity, and he has a lot more 2 and 3 stars than I did. So I've been trying to be a little bit more harsh on myself, I guess is the word. So I go through here, and it's just helpful to not always give yourself participation trophy. I find that useful. Okay, so another feature I want to show you on this is, and so this is just the sequence I find helpful I've developed over the years. These items change in this practice list, but I like how it just takes me into the next item. I don't have to think about it. So if I'm tired or burned out, which is how I often am when I'm practicing, I've already done all the planning ahead of time in the app. That's another great feature, these practice lists like this. I find it super helpful. So now I'm going to use the improve feature, which is this button here in the lower left, and it says, what will you improve right now? I want to improve consistency. So I'm going to be practicing slurred scales. This is something that I picked up from Nathan Cole, one of the title chair first violinist in the Los Angeles Philharmonic. He shot a really cool series going through how he practices and thinks about practicing. And one thing that he does is he practices scales slurred, separate, and off the string every day. And I realized I should just do that. So I totally pulled that from Nathan Cole. Thank you, Nathan. And I'm going to go through, I'm going to do consistency. So what will you improve right now? Consistency. Okay, what strategy will you try to make this improvement? I'm going to give myself, okay, so I could do any of these. I'm going to add a suggestion, and I'm going to listen with wide ears or big ears. Kind of a cheesy thing to put, but I just want to really listen closely. How am I going to practice more consistently? I'm just going to listen, and I'm also going to record myself. So start recording while trying your strategy. Press it right here, and we're going to just do E flat major. I'm going to do 2 octaves, practicing slurred notes. I'm going to start with 2. And I would do 4, 5, 6, and 7, but I'm just going to listen right now. Back here, and we're going to just do E flat major. I'm going to do 2 octaves, practicing slurred notes. I'm going to start with 2. I can pull up the metronome and drone if I want to check how my pitch was or tempo. And I would do 4, 5, Did I improve? 7, I will often do this time and time again, and just, did you improve? Yes, no. I'm going to put yes, I did. That was actually fairly good. I know I pulled a bunch of stuff up, and again, I'd be a little bit less when I'm just practicing this on my own than if I'm recording for the camera. But did I improve? Yes. We made a note for you to practice this later. Do you want to do it again now? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. For now, I'm just going to say no. And I then, when I'm done with that, go through, give it a rating. That one, okay. I'm going to give that 3.5 stars, and it just moves you right into the next practice item. I'm going to get out of that and just show you this is what I am working on these days. Just one item right after another. And I just love how this moves through the practice session for me, tracks my practice, tracks the amount of improvements I've made. It really is the closest thing I found to an actual improve button. That's a look inside practice session with Modacity. I really dig it for my playing, and it has really helped with not getting frustrated.